So, welcome to this video where we will talk about the antihypertensive agents in detail. First, talking about the basics of blood pressure. Blood pressure is the pressure that is exerted by the blood on the walls of the blood vessels while flowing through them. It has two main components. One, the systolic blood pressure, and two, the diastolic blood pressure. The systolic blood pressure depends mainly on the cardiac output. Cardiac output is the volume of the blood that is ejected by the heart during one cardiac cycle and is measured as the product of stroke volume and heart rate. Diastolic blood pressure depends mainly on the peripheral resistance. It is the vasoconstrictor tone of the blood vessels determines the peripheral resistance, and this vasoconstrictor tone is under the autonomic regulation of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. Now talking about the mechanism of action of antihypertensives. Therefore, antihypertensives will work by three main mechanisms. One, drugs that will reduce the stroke volume. Two, drugs that will reduce the heart rate. And three, drugs that will reduce the peripheral resistance or the vasoconstrictor tone. So one, drugs that reduce the stroke volume include diuretics. They work by reducing the blood volume as a whole, and RAS pathway inhibitors. Drugs that reduce the heart rate, which includes beta blockers, and drugs that reduce the vasoconstrictor tone include sympatholytics, calcium channel blockers, and vasodilators. So RAS pathway inhibitors. They include three categories of drugs. One, AC inhibitors, which include drugs like enalapril, captopril, lisinopril, ramipril, etc. ARBs or angiotensin receptor blockers, which include losartan, telmisartan, candesartan, irbesartan, and direct renin inhibitors like aliskiren, remikiren, enalkiren. So let us talk about the physiology of the RAS pathway. The liver is the site for production of angiotensinogen. This angiotensinogen is converted to angiotensin 1 by the renin, which is released by the juxtaglomerular cells of the nephrons in the kidney. Now this angiotensin 1 is converted by the ACE enzyme into angiotensin 2. This ACE enzyme is located in the pulmonary capillary endothelium. This angiotensin 2 has two main actions. It works on the blood vessels resulting in vasoconstriction, whereas it also works on the adrenal gland releasing the aldosterone. It is responsible for reabsorption of sodium and water and loss of potassium in the urine. So direct renin inhibitors will work by blocking the action of renin. ACE inhibitors like enalapril, captopril, etc. will block the ACE enzyme. And losartan, candesartan are drugs which are angiotensin receptor blockers that block the AT1 receptor on the adrenal glands and on the blood vessels. AT1 receptor also present in the heart and responsible for cardiac remodeling in heart failure, and therefore ACE inhibitors are the drugs of choice in the heart failure patients as they prevent the cardiac remodeling. Now ACE inhibitors, their uses and properties. They are considered as the first-line drugs for hypertension. The first-line drugs for hypertension include ACE inhibitors, CCBs, and diuretics. They are preferred as antihypertensive in diabetic patients, chronic kidney disease or CKD, retinopathy, and scleroderma patients. All ACE inhibitors are prodrugs except captopril and lisinopril. Side effects and contraindications of ACE inhibitors. ACE enzyme is responsible for metabolism of bradykinin and substance P. So when the ACE enzyme gets blocked, bradykinin and substance P levels rises in the body, causing allergic reactions like cough, angioedema, urticaria, etc. They can also cause a disturbance in the taste. They can result in orthostatic hypotension, hyperkalemia due to retention of the potassium, and therefore they should not be combined with potassium-sparing diuretics like amiloride, triamterene, spironolactone, etc. And they're absolutely contraindicated in pregnancy and bilateral renal artery stenosis. In pregnancy, ACE inhibitors can result in bilateral renal agenesis in the baby, which causes oligohydramnios and dysmorphic facial features. Bilateral renal artery stenosis, patients already have a low GFR, and if ACE inhibitors are used in them, it causes a further reduction in the GFR and precipitates acute renal failure. Now talking about angiotensin receptor blockers. Their uses and properties. It is almost the same as ACE inhibitors. However, they have some additional properties like losartan has additional uricosuric action and antiplatelet action. Telmisartan has PPR gamma agonistic activity, and therefore it is preferred in diabetic patients. Irbesartan has additional antiarrhythmic properties and therefore it can be used in patients of chronic atrial fibrillation. Now the side effects and contraindications. They are similar to ACE inhibitors except dry cough and angioedema is not seen as they do not cause a rise in levels of bradykinin and substance P. Now talking about beta blockers. Beta blockers include drugs like propranolol, metoprolol, atenolol, esmolol. They can be cardioselective, that is mainly working on the beta 1 receptors like bisoprolol, esmolol, atenolol, esbuterol, metoprolol, or non-cardioselective where they will block both the beta 1, 2 and 3 receptors equally as propranolol. Now what is the mechanism of antihypertensive effect of these beta blockers? They will block the beta 1 receptors on the juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney, resulting in the reduction of renin release. They will also block the beta 1 receptors on the heart, mainly in the ACE node and the AV node, and causes the bradycardia. These are the mechanism of their antihypertensive effects. Now, side effect profile of beta blockers. The beta 1 receptors are located on the heart and in the kidney. Due to blocking of the beta 1 receptors on the heart, the beta blockers can cause bradycardia and heart block or AV nodal blocks, and therefore they are contraindicated in patients with sick sinus syndrome and heart blocks. Beta 2 receptors are present on the vascular smooth muscle, on the bronchial smooth muscle, on the liver, and other regions of the body. So, working on the bronchial smooth muscle, beta blockers can precipitate bronchoconstriction. Therefore, they are to be cautiously used in asthma and COPD patients. By working on the vascular smooth muscles, they can cause vasoconstriction and therefore they have to be used in caution in peripheral vascular disease, and they're avoided in prinzmetal angina patients where anginal attacks occur due to vasospasm of the coronary arteries. And they are not to be used in diabetes and dyslipidemia patients. They're avoided in diabetes as they will mask the symptoms of hypoglycemia, resulting in hypoglycemic awareness, and avoided in dyslipidemia because beta blockers have an unfavorable effect on the lipid profile. Now talking about sympatholytics. They include central sympatholytics like clonidine and alpha-methyl dopa. These drugs will block the alpha-2A receptors in the central nervous system, decreasing the central sympathetic outflow, thereby causing vasodilation and decreased release of renin. They can include adrenergic neuron blockers like guanethidine and reserpine. These drugs are however not used nowadays as they can precipitate severe hypotension. They can include alpha blockers that will cause the vasodilation by blocking the alpha-1A receptors on the blood vessels, vascular smooth muscle, and beta blockers. Now talking about calcium channel blockers. They divide into two main categories. One is the DHP or the dihydropyridine type, which includes the dipines like amlodipine, nifedipine, nicardipine. They only work on the calcium channels in the vascular smooth muscle, whereas the non-DHP types will include verapamil and diltiazem. They'll work on calcium channels both in the heart as well as the vascular smooth muscles. Now, what is the difference between DHP and non-DHP CCBs? The DHP CCBs like nifedipine will block the calcium channels on the vascular smooth muscle, resulting in a vasodilation and drop in the BP. Because of this, there is a reflex tachycardia in the patients. In non-DHP type of CCBs like verapamil and diltiazem, they will work on the calcium channels both in the heart and the peripheral blood vessels. Therefore, they will cause a drop in the peripheral resistance and decrease the BP. However, there is no reflex tachycardia due to blocking of the calcium channels in the ACE node and AV node of the heart. Instead, non-DHP type of CCBs like verapamil, diltiazem cause a drop in the heart rate or contractility of the heart. Therefore, DHP type of CCBs need to be combined with beta blockers to counteract their side effect of reflex tachycardia. And non-DHP type of CCBs, on the other hand, cause bradycardia and are contraindicated in heart block and sick sinus syndrome. For the same reason, they are not to be combined with the beta blockers. Now, based on their uses, DHP type of CCBs are drugs of choice in hypertension and peripheral vascular disease since they cause significant vasodilation. They can also be used in angina. They are contraindicated in supraventricular tachycardia patients because they will cause a reflex tachycardia and further worsen the arrhythmia. Non-DHP type of CCBs are drugs of choice in supraventricular tachycardia as they can reduce the heart rate. They can also be used in angina, but they're the less preferred agents in hypertension treatment. Now talking about special properties of individual calcium channel blockers. Nicardipine is the shortest acting CCB and therefore is the drug of choice in hypertensive emergency patients. Nimodipine is the drug of choice in subarachnoid hemorrhage or intracranial hemorrhage as it prevents the reflex cerebral vasospasm. Nifedipine causes reflex tachycardia due to erratic absorption and therefore it is contraindicated in angina as it can precipitate an anginal episode. Antidote for CCB toxicity is IV calcium gluconate. And calcium channel blockers have additional tocolytic action and therefore can also be used for premature labor. Now, what is the side effect profile of calcium channel blockers? Headache is the most common side effect of calcium channel blockers as they can cause vasodilatation of the cerebral blood vessels. They can cause flushing due to cutaneous vasodilatation, pedal edema due to vasodilatation of the ankle blood vessels or the pedal blood vessels. They can cause postural hypotension, constipation and urinary retention, as well as gastroesophageal reflux. Now talking about vasodilators. Vasodilators are divided into three groups based on the vessels that is affected. They can be arterial dilators, venodilators, or both. Arterial dilators include potassium channel openers like minoxidil, diazoxide, hydralazine, nicorandil, partial D1 agonist like phenol-dopam, venodilators like nitrates, and combined dilators like nitroprusside. Mention to be made that nicorandil also has nitric oxide donating action. So what is the side effect profile of vasodilators? Headache is the most common side effect due to vasodilatation of the cerebral blood vessels. Flushing is seen due to cutaneous vasodilatation. There is a reflex tachycardia. Pedal edema is seen and orthostatic hypotension is seen. So the side effect profile is quite similar to that of the calcium channel blockers. What are the special properties of vasodilators? Minoxidil causes vasodilation of the scalp vessels, therefore topical minoxidil is used in treatment of androgenetic alopecia. However, it can cause hirsutism in females as a side effect. Diazoxide inhibits the release of insulin and can be used in treatment of insulinoma. However, they cause hyperglycemia and is avoided in diabetic patients or contraindicated in diabetic patients. Hydralazine has additional antioxidant action and nitric oxide or NO-donating property. They are also used in treatment of heart failure and causes the side effect of drug-induced SLE. Nicorandil and nitrates are mainly anti-anginal drugs and have no antihypertensive action per se. Phenol-dopam is a drug that is preferred in acute renal failure patients. Now talking about sodium nitroprusside, its mechanism of action, properties, and side effects. Sodium nitroprusside is a drug that degrades on exposure to sunlight and so the bottle is covered with a black paper. This diagram shows the mechanism of action of sodium nitroprusside which breaks down producing nitric oxide or NO. This NO enters in the vascular smooth muscle cell where it activates the guanylate cyclase that converts GTP to cyclic GMP that is responsible for the smooth muscle relaxation and this is the mechanism of vasodilatation. As a byproduct, sodium nitroprusside produces cyanide that produces symptoms of cyanide toxicity. This cyanide can be converted into thiocyanate and that causes hypothyroidism in the patients. Now, cyclic GMP in the vascular smooth muscle is converted in the inactive GMP state by the phosphodiesterase 5 enzyme. This can be inhibited by phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors like sildenafil, tadalafil, vardenafil, etc. They are used in patients with pulmonary arterial hypertension. However, sildenafil, tadalafil, and other phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors should not be combined with sodium nitroprusside as they can cause a severe vasodilatation due to increase in the cyclic GMP level of vascular smooth muscle cell and cause a significant hypotension in the patients and can cause cardiovascular collapse. Now, sodium nitroprusside is contraindicated in G6 deficiency patients. Now, prescribing antihypertensive in special situations. This table summarizes it. If there is a pregnancy, the drugs that are contraindicated include diuretics, nitroprusside, beta blockers, spironolactone, and RAS pathway blockers. For chronic hypertension in pregnancy, the drug of choice includes alpha-methyl-dopa. For preeclampsia, the drug of choice includes labetalol, and if there is a hypertensive emergency in pregnancy, labetalol is given IV. So the overall drug of choice for hypertension in pregnancy is labetalol. In hypertensive urgency, oral clonidine is given. In hypertensive emergency, we can give either intravenous nicardipine or nitroprusside. In aortic dissection, MI, angina, esmolol is preferred or beta blockers are preferred. In patients with concomitant heart failure, CKD, diabetes, ACE inhibitors or ARB are preferred as antihypertensive agents, and in patient of peripheral vascular disease, calcium channel blockers are preferred.